Maxwell Wasika having a sober conversation with Cynthia Mumbo, the CEO of Sports Connect Africa, and they had a lot of things to talk about. The show is on, the touchline we are on, and now it is time we turn our attention to Mozambique versus Kenya and do a preview of those games. Joining us here on set is Daily Nation sports journalist David Kwalima and Vincent Opio. Maxwell is still with us here. I've got to put you on the spot and ask you, David. First of all, how do you feel when the World Cup qualifiers are going on? For us, we are playing friendlies. Other countries are playing the qualifiers for 2018 FIFA World Cup.
I feel what I'm supposed to feel, that Kenya is not good enough. Kenya lost to Cape Verde, and they lost on merit. They didn't look anywhere near good enough against Cape Verde, which is a good team. And as well, the shambolic preparations ahead of that assignment as well come onto the fore. And if you've sampled some of the games that have been played, Nigeria versus Cameroon yesterday, yes. Ghana against Congo in Kumasi, as well as Egypt against Uganda earlier, you can see the standards of the game at that level to compete in the World Cup. It's not easy, and if you compare those standards to what Kenya is performing at the moment, if you look at the recent games against Sierra Leone and some of the not so official friendly matches that we've participated in recent times, then it's justifiable that Kenya should not get into that stage of the tournament as it stands right now.
Wow. Vincent Opio, what do you make of the split of the two squads, one featuring for Chan preparedness ahead of early next year, and another one featuring for Stanley Okumbi, the one that is in Mozambique, to play in a friendly? What do you make of the split? Good move or retrogressive?
It can be a good move, but we need to be realistic. Are we first hosting Chan? If we are hosting Chan, what is the need of playing away when we have the tournament here? Why can't we take those two different squads, one in Meru, one in Kipchoge Keino? Because these are two stadiums that have never hosted a national team. So why can't we gauge ourselves in those stadiums as we prepare to host Chan? Now, if you go away, then it leaves a lot to be decided whether we are hosting Chan or whether we are ready to host it.
According to you, between Chan and the one that is under Stanley Okumbi for a friendly against Mozambique, which one looks more polished? And in terms of composition, what's the ability like of both?
Well, there are old players, especially the one in Mozambique. There are good players who play outside our local league, and the one in Morocco is basically a local team with a few best players who shine here locally, because there are so many that have been left out and do well in the local league, but they are already in Morocco, and there are names that did not deserve to board a plane to Morocco, but already they're there. And look at the one in Mozambique. It's purely what we expect, because the likes of David Owino Calabar is a national team player, and the likes of John Makwata, Jesse Were, those are national team players we expect to be in that team. But again, I still ask, we are playing Mozambique, a team we beat here, a team that is ranked 104. We are 82. Why play Mozambique if we can play serious countries ranked in the top 50?
I guess those serious countries, most of them are not available at this moment because they're engaged in the World Cup qualifiers. That's number one. And number two, I also believe there was a special arrangement between Football Kenya Federation and their counterparts from Mozambique that will play each other home and away, just like we played DRC home and away in the friendlies, and we played Uganda home and away. So there seems to be a special arrangement that these are friendlies, yes, but we will test you at your home backyard, and we also come and host you as well, just to finish that landscape of the gentleman's agreement between the two. It will be an interesting assignment, Kenya against Mozambique, because Mozambique proved that they're a good side and they are managed by a very good coach who formerly played for Liverpool. I'm talking about Abel Xavier.
Yes.
And as well, the squad that is there is shy of very many players, including Michael Olunga, who's just completed a move to Spain, Victor Anyamo and Ayub Timbe are other players, I believe, who have asked to be excused, understandably, from this assignment because of various other reasons. But to also look at your question on whether it's worth it, I believe Kenya needs to play as many games as possible, whether we are hosting Chan or not. Because we are out of competitive assignments, as I said, because we are not good enough. But we should try and be good enough so that we can be able to play in those competitive assignments in the next round of matches, which is the African Nations Cup qualifiers 2019, which continue in March when we play against Ghana at home. We host Ghana at home in a must-win situation, with Ethiopia also in the group. So Kenya needs to continue playing these games and building up themselves against whichever opposition they can come across. And it's a good program by the federation, one we've not been seeing in the past, where friendly matches are played home and away to put the team in shape against the other assignments. As well, maybe just to answer Vincent, is that possibly some of the venues you're mentioning are not yet ready. This past week, the government has embarked on a plan to rehabilitate these venues and shut down some of these facilities, including Nyayo Stadium, Machakos, and Meru, Kipchoge as well. So most of the venues which can host an international match are not ready as it stands right now. So the best you can do, if you have the resources, is to fly to Maputo and play in a game.
Actually, one of the things I've got to ask is, right now we have got a federation that has really tried very much on, let's say, try to give out resources. They can take a team to Mozambique. Most of the shenanigans is off now. It's back to the field. Stanley Okumbi has been with the Harambee Stars for 13, 14 matches. How do you rate? Give us a scorecard when you look at Stanley Okumbi. Because after the World Cup qualifiers are done, we've got CHAN, we've got 2019 Africa Cup of Nations. Is Stanley Okumbi good enough? How can you rate him as a manager so far?
Unfortunately, he's not been good enough when called upon, because I will rate, out of those 13 assignments, I'll rate Okumbi possibly in 4 assignments. The home and away game against Guinea-Bissau in the 2017 African Nations Cup qualifiers, which were competitive assignments against a team you should be winning if you're Kenya. He lost both, home and away. And then against Congo at home, it was a meaningless assignment because Kenya had already lost out in its bid to qualify. Remember, Guinea-Bissau eventually qualified for AFCON in Gabon.
Yes.
Zambia and Congo, the Republic of Congo, did not qualify alongside Kenya. So that game, Kenya won 2-1, but it was meaningless. And then apart from that, the real assignment when Okumbi was called up to task was Sierra Leone away. Because that was a competitive engagement, 2019 qualifiers. That was the game he had to win, or at least pick something. Because Ethiopia and Ghana, statistically and even by the composition of their squads, are much more stronger than Kenya as it stands right now, and if you consider head-to-head as well. He went into that assignment. He did not win that assignment as well. There were several questions about his team selection. There still are several questions about the team selection in the Harambee Stars. So if I'm to judge Okumbi out of 10 right now, I'll give him a 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
Vincent Opio, the composition of the national team squad, that is Harambee Stars lineup, has been questionable, and one of the main talking points, probably some football stakeholders locally thinking that it is something that is being influenced by probably one of the football top honchos in the country. I don't know, from your own end, what are your thoughts with regards to the selection and composition of Harambee Stars, and even, you know, the two squads, whether it's a balanced affair?
Well, for the senior national team, I think it's balanced, because we expect Michael Olunga to be called up. We expect Johan Omolo. We expect Victor Wanyama. Barely the best 11 are playing outside the country, so we expect them to be there. The question comes, if those best 11, 1 or 2 are not there, then now the question comes whether it's balanced or not. But for the first 11, I don't think there is any interruption from the bosses.
I again disagree with Vincent. If you look at the game against Sierra Leone, Masoud Juma, in my opinion, should not have started that game. From whichever way you look at it, why should he start that game? What has he done? Who is he in the first place? He's a Kenyan Premier League player. He plays for Kariobangi Sharks. He's scored 3 league goals that season. Heading into that assignment, there are players who scored more. Stephen Oruru was on the bench on that particular day. He's a seasoned player. He's somebody who's he's one of the top scorers in the league for some time. He's somebody who deserved a chance alongside Michael Olunga. Now let's get into the proper situation in life where you have to give somebody a chance and let him prove that he's good enough or not. He lost one very good chance in the game. He was one-on-one. I think he was put through on goal by Olunga. By a back heel. He was himself and the goalkeeper one-on-one. He missed that chance. Kenya goes on to lose that game 2-1. Moments after missing that chance, Sierra Leone get a chance which was even far more difficult to finish than Kenya. And the Sierra Leone player went on to finish that chance. Brian Mandela went on to get sent off, and Kenya lost 2-1. So it gets back to that chance. If that chance probably had fallen to Olunga or a more accomplished player like Waruru, we wouldn't be talking about what you're talking right now. But then he's gone on. And then moments later, he goes to Sweden. And that's where everything goes now to come out. He's given a national team cap, questionable circumstances. A week later, he's flying to Sweden for a trial. He fails the trial. which goes on to justify the move that he wasn't good enough, because Olunga had that opportunity a year earlier. He went to Sweden for trial and passed. Comes back to Kenya, goes to South Africa for another trial, fails, which more or less justifies that possibly he's not good enough. To have been for national team colors. And we all know that if you want to go to Europe to play in Europe, you have to be playing for your national team, because the selectors there do believe if you're good enough to play for Kenya, then you might be good enough to play in the Swedish league.
Yes.
That's how it works in that part of the world. But then probably he's starting to redeem himself. He scored against Mauritania over the weekend when playing for the Kenya select side, which is preparing for CHAN. He started and scored a header. So is he starting to redeem himself? Is he good enough? The jury's still out.
Of course, if you're just joining us right now, this is the Touchline on Y254 show, or other program that comes to you every Saturday from 12 to 2. My name is Maxwell Wasika, alongside Robert Osoro. We're taking you through, as usual, and joining us on set, a sports journalist with bias on football, award-winning, and people who have vast experience when it comes to matters coverage of football, both local and continentally. David Kwalima and Vincent Opio, both coincidentally from Daily Nation, and of course they're just joining us to dissect about Kenya against Mozambique, a match, friendly fixture that is lined up this particular evening. And of course, remember, Stanley Okumbi is leading his charges as they seek probably to do what they've been doing before in friendlies. And Vincent Opio, over to you now. What do you make of the conspicuous absence of Eric Marcelo Uma, a former Gor Mahia left back who's been excluded from the squad that is in Maputo right now? And now Buda Omar coming in.
Well, I think we have to appreciate that we have 2 top left backs in the country. I say 4, because the first choice is Abud Omar. The second choice to me is Omar Mbongi. The third choice is Eric Ouma. And fourth is...
Dennis Odhiambo?
Not really. It's David Mwangi from Tusker. You see, now when you have top 4, if one of them makes it, is present, it's good. Now we have Abud, but now with Marcelo being excluded, according to the national team coach, is because he flopped in the game against Sierra Leone. Then my question is, if he flopped, he doesn't play locally, so you have a chance to follow him up, not like locally where you head into Gor Mahia and see him, but he's playing outside the country, so you have to follow him up. Since we played against Sierra Leone in June, has he followed him up to see if he's still flopping in the league games?
I guess
if he didn't follow up, then I don't know why he was excluded.
Maybe, Kwalima, can we attribute his absence to the fact that maybe the league in which he's featuring in is not publicly televised and it's not in the knowledge of public domain, and Stanley Okumbi might not be aware of his delivery overseas?
First things first, Marcelo was responsible for the second goal Kenya scored in Sierra Leone. He caused that penalty.
Yes.
But it happens to every other player. It's not a privilege that was only his. We see penalties considered every day, so I'll assume it's a one-off. But I guess the comments attributed to the coach, which I heard him talk about and say the Georgian league is substandard and Marcelo is off form, I thought they were completely out of taste. For a player, firstly, he's a professional player. He's playing in Europe, and he's playing because he wants to earn a living, just like he wants to get to the top. You really cannot bash a league and say, I'm not selecting this player because of that league and I don't believe in that league. I think it marks of a bit of disrespect, because if now we're supposed to put facts on the table, what can we attribute the Kenyan Premier League to? When did we last see a team in the Kenyan Premier League feature well in continental assignments, feature well in Sekafa assignments, which apart from Olunga, which I believe is a one-off, which other player can we attribute the Kenyan Premier League has produced this player and this player has gone on to possibly even be good in the continent and what have you? So that's not the way to take things. I believe he should have used measured words to attribute for dropping Marcelo, because I agree with Vincent with other good players who can play for the national team, which is good for the country when you have options and when you have competition from within. You give the coach a welcome headache when he's trying to do selection. But the comments about the Georgian league were uncalled for. I've just done my research about the league, and there are several players coming out of the Georgian league who are going pro in Belgium, who are going pro in Denmark. So there's something good in that competition. And from what I gather, Marcelo is earning almost 10 times more than he was earning when he was in Kenya. And at the end of the day, players want to be comfortable. They want to earn a good living. They want to fend for themselves. So the coach should have used a bit more respectful words when referring to the Belgian league, and take nothing away as well. Marcelo is a very quality player. You can't take away from that.
David, let me put this out and ask it outright. Stanley Okumbi is 35 years old. He has not been in any major competition where he has really done something tangible that people can come out and say, actually, this guy as a coach is young, yes, but he has done this. The best we have seen him is Maisa, Kariobangi Sharks, Mathare United. Is it that time when Kenya just said, no, we need a real coach to take off? Because when you make such comments, obviously there's a coach who doesn't follow up on the player. Because any coach, you just call up the coach in Georgia and ask him, how is my player, how is his stats, how is he performing, and all this. It shows that at the end of the day, he doesn't even know that coach. He doesn't have his... Amrush used to do that when he was following up his players. He could say, if my player is in Algeria, I remember Lavarsa, who was in Algeria, Amrush could call and say, I called the coach, he told me he had an injury, he's not good enough to go on, so he could not come. It shows outright that Stanley doesn't do follow-ups. He doesn't know where his players are. He doesn't know the performance levels of his players. Even if he's calling them, he's just calling them by name. Just that same, we need just an experienced coach to take over Harambee Stars.
I think Ghana is going to be his D-Day. When we host Ghana here in March, there's already, if you look at the pattern and habit and behavior of most of the fans on social media, there's already some uprising, but it's cooking in the backyard. Something is cooking, because most of the fans don't seem to subscribe to his methods and how he's doing his work. And he's been lucky enough that I'll say lucky, quote unquote, because most of the assignments he's had, competitive assignments, have been away. So the fans have not been there to show him what they think. So at home against Ghana, number one, he will really have to get his selection right. If we get to find some players that fans don't quite believe in, mostly players from Kariobangi Sharks in the starting lineup at home, he'd rather select those players and Kenya wins.
Yes.
But if he does select those players and God forbid Kenya is trailing Ghana at halftime, whether Ghana is a big team or not, he's going to be in for a very, very, very big shocker. I hope it doesn't go down that road, but that is what is going to happen. So the Ghana game is do or die for him.
Yeah, just to add on what Robert said about Stanley Okumbi, I think he should be put in the right place when it comes to players playing their trade abroad. When he called up the foreign-based players for Sierra Leone game, I checked, Eric Johanna had played in 7 games off the bench. In that game, he only played for 58 minutes. Now, as a coach, when a player is not good, what do? You withdraw him from the game. How come Marcelo played 90 minutes and he was not good according to Okumbi? That is one. 2, he has gone ahead to call Eric Johanna, who is fresh from a 1-month league break. So he has only played 1 competitive game, 75 minutes. Is he fit enough? Brian Mandela has a red card, and this is a FIFA friendly. Is he eligible? That's number 1. 2, he has been here when the team in South Africa is on preseason. When they played, they started the league, they played preseason friendlies. He didn't play. Is he much fit? Only the Zambian 5 are active, are playing actively. But the rest, why did Michael Olunga decide to finish up a transfer, which he can decide to do it online anyway?
No, he can't decide to do it online.
He has to be there.
He has to be there and sign some papers. There's some paperwork that needs to be done. But I get your point.
Yeah. Okumbi, the federation, not actual Okumbi, needs to have someone following up on players abroad, how they are playing each and every weekend. Not just to rely on, we have Abu Domar, let's call him. We have Victor Wanyama, let's call him. How is he playing?
Gentlemen, it boils down to this. All over the world, at Chelsea, at Arsenal, there are going to be problems about team selection. Yes. When guys are going to say, you should have started this, he should have started this, there's going to be always that bant on social media and everybody's going to talk about it. The trick for the coach is as follows. Select whoever you want. Select 40-year-olds in that team, select 17-year-olds in that team, but perform.
Yes.
When you don't perform, it's going to be subject to questioning. You're going to be questioned, why didn't you do this? Why did you do this? We are having this debate because Okumbi is not performing. with whatever he's bringing out. And now it qualifies fans to come and say, this is not the better choice. Like I will say, Masood is not the best right now.
Yes.
And I will justify it with the failed trials. I'll justify it with the number of goals he has in the league and what have you. So the coach is not doing good enough. And that is why this scrutiny comes. So it just comes down to the team that you put out. You better perform. If you don't perform, the fans will put out a team for you.
And now talking about the game marked for later today against Mozambique, that's a friendly fixture. Absence of several players who've earned a starting berth in the first 11. Victor Mugudu Wanyama, of course, the captain, having suffered from injury and yet to come to full fitness, excused himself from inclusion. And, you know, Johanna Omola as well, who's just joined a new team and looking forward to settle, also excused himself. Ayub Timba as well, missing in action. Do you think the absence or rather unavailability of 3 or 4 players in the national team might affect their performance this evening against Mozambique?
I don't think so. If we do our selection, the first 11 right, that is, we start Patrick Matasi, we start David Cheche and Kalaba, we start Joaquin Satud on the right flank as a right fullback, Abud Omar on the left, Anthony Akumu, Kenneth Muguna, we have Eric Johanna, Clifton Mieso, Makwata and Jesse. We can bring out something. If those players don't start, I don't think we are heading for the right result.
And let me ask, the Zambian 5, because most of the Kenyan players who are actually performing here in Africa are in Zambia, Were, Okumu, Owino, Makwata and Miheso. Should that be slightly a backbone of Harambee Stars right now?
No, because I believe we have other players playing in better leagues, if I should put it that way. Players in Belgium, which is a more competitive assignment or league compared to Zambia. We have players in England now. We have got a player in Spain who should be probably, in my opinion, the backbone of the team. But take nothing away from the Zambian guys. I believe they are talented enough, number one. Number two, I just believe they're in Zambia because probably their managers don't have extensive contacts all over the continent where they can get them better playing opportunities. Because if you look at the interest in Jesse Were, for example, over the last 1 year, there are clubs in the Gulf that want him, there are clubs in Morocco that want him, there are clubs in Tunisia, there are clubs in South Africa, which shows he's got some potential, even if he's not, probably he's not been marketed well enough by his representatives to earn him that move, or there's something that we don't know about it. But the players in Zambia have really given Kenya a good name. Remember, Zambia is a good footballing nation compared to Kenya. If you look at what the national team in Zambia has been able to do over the past years, as well, the Zambian league, we've seen Zesco get to the semi-finals of the Champions League. Yes. We know what Nkana have done down the years. Also, the Zambian league pays better than the Kenyan league, which comes back to where we started this conversation. What does a footballer want ultimately? He wants a better salary. He wants to be given a house if possible. He wants to be given a fully furnished house. He wants to be able at the end of the day to buy a car, to invest. And yes, you won't get that kind of money in the Kenyan Premier League, unfortunately.
Finally, your paper was the first one to write we are going to host Sekafa as a curtain raiser for Chan. Is it true? Are we going to host Sekafa?
There is that is those were the quotes attributed to the Football Kenya Federation President Nick Mwendwa, which was wrong because it's not in Nick's mandate to tell us we'll host Sekafa.
Yes,
he is just his association, the Football Kenya Federation, is just a member of Sekafa. There are managers within Sekafa, specifically Sekafa Secretary General Nicholas Musonye, who should be telling us this. Now, it's coming to the top that Sudan have also asked host Sekafa, and if that is the case, there are logistics in which a host should be decided if there's interest from more than one member association. So it was not in Nick's place. When it comes to Chan is a whole different plate altogether. I personally believe Kenya will not be ready. Having seen what has happened over the past few weeks, yes, there's those late kicks from the government to try and give the contractor the ground to demolish so that they can put up better facilities. The money has not been released. There's all movements here and there. Whether Kenya eventually hosts Chan remains to be seen, but my personal opinion, I don't think Kenya will be ready with the work that needs to be done before Chan comes.
Vincent, what do you think about Kenya's readiness to host Chan? Of course, CAF representatives visiting the country on September 7th to assess the situation and our preparedness to have the tourney take place here in Kenya next year. What do you think?
If the continental governing body is worried, in quotes, of Kenya hosting, what should we do?
And is it true they already have a plan B in Morocco in case Kenya doesn't raise to the occasion?
By the way,
yes,
let
they do.
alone Morocco, South Africa is ready. Zambia can host.
And the Confederation of Africa Football said it themselves. Omari, the second vice president, said it here that that we have a plan B and we have a plan C. And the ridiculous part is that Kenya has known it's going to host CHAN since when, 2014?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got 5 years to prepare for something and you can't prepare for it. Why should you really ask for sympathy?
And Maxwell, I remember I was in Rwanda in August 2015 for the East African Secondary School Games. And that is the following year, actually 4 months away, Rwanda hosted the 2016 CHAN. When I was there, all the fields were just the finishing patches. They were doing the finishing patches. And when the inspection team was coming, it was being accompanied by the Minister of Sports in that country. I happened to tour Huye Stadium in August, and it was ready. They were just finishing up outside the pitch. But then I never heard that so-and-so has been put on notice whether if Rwanda is not ready, so-and-so can host. I never heard. Now I'm hearing it.
Let me put this, there's a positive story out of all this. There's a positive story out of all this. Should be a positive story out of everything. The positive story out of all this is that my prayer is the contracts are awarded, the money is released by the government, which is normally the hardest part.
Yes.
And the works start and complete. Whether they are in ready ahead of CHAN or not, let the works start and complete. Our football stadiums are in pathetic shape.
Yes.
Let them be renovated. Let us have good stadiums where our players, good pitches, good grass, good dressing rooms. Let's just have an upgrade in our sports infrastructure in the country, whether we host CHAN or not. That's a positive side.
Even for our games.
Even for our own games and for our national team games, I think that would be good, because if you look at this, the work that is going to be done at Nyayo Stadium, for example, the VIP stand is going to go away. There's going to be a lot of wiring. 2 giant screens are going to come up. The PA system is going to be changed. The pitch is going to be dug up and put up afresh by companies that are based outside the country. It smacks of a good feeling when and you can't even wait to see how it's going to look like at the end of it. Also, let this works be done whether we host CHAN or not. Let's do it. And probably just to bring you in, the under 14 team that went to Southampton, and I was talking to some of those players when they came back. They were like, you have to release the ball very quickly when you're playing with those Europeans. They will tackle you. They'll slide through and tackle you. You have to do these things very quickly. Why? Because their field is so good. The grass is so good. Somebody can afford to tackle. You can't afford to tackle at Kasarani. You can't afford to slide in at Nyayo Stadium.
Yes.
So let's have these fields. Let's have the quality of our game improve because of that. And let's see how it goes, whether we host CHAN or not.
Gentlemen, thank you for your time. It was good having you on board. It was a privilege, joining us and dissect about Kenya Mozambique friendly fixture lined up this evening in Maputo, a friendly game that Stanley Okumbi, the Harambee Stars tactician, is saying that he's confident he will register a win and put in pocket 3 maximum points. But before that, your quick prediction about that game, Vincent?
Either draw or Mozambique wins.
Yeah, I don't see Kenya winning. I'll go for a draw.
It's the touchline on Y254 Maxwell Wasika alongside Robert Osoro. Tomo Gweno, a man who formerly featured for the national team Harambee Stars, is up next, known for his long throws. Let's see what he says about his heydays with the national team.